19 minutes to 9 o'clock. You're listening to In Town and Out on CBC Radio 1, 91.5 here in Ottawa. I'm Michael Bardwaj. And when I walked into the house that was Roy Stevens' pride and joy, well, it was kind of like walking back in time, both literally and figuratively. Roy Stevens spent decades rebuilding the old Hayes Tavern, which dated back to the 1830s in Prince Edward County. Every joist, every beam, and every detail was reconditioned back to its original form.
We're seeing 16 panels inlaid into the walls, and each of these were hand-painted, oil on board, by a Consicon artist, I've been told by a local historian who was here at the last open house. And each individual piece is a bit of a landscape piece. As far as I can tell, there's waterfalls, there's landscapes, there's a little bit of architecture here and there.
That's Manson Slick, the head of Gordon Estate Services down in the region. Now, he's going to be auctioning the house and all of its contents next week. But before the gavel hits the podium, Manson took a few moments to give me a tour of Roy Stevens' Tavern turned house and tell me about the legacy that Roy is leaving behind. So, Manson, you've brought me into the house, and in particular, we're standing in front of about 4 pictures right now that are on the wall that are of the original Tavern. Can you just describe some of these pictures?
Well, this picture here that, of course, you can't see in the radio, shows the actual Hayes Tavern, which was built in 1838. And then after it was built, the Porters purchased the property and they added an addition. And then when Roy dismantled the property piece by piece, this section is all built, as you can see from this photograph, as a great big 12 bent post and beam structure. This was just a frame addition, so when he rebuilt the tavern, the Porter's Hotel section didn't make it, and he took the wood from that and used it in the restoration of Hayes Tavern. Roy was a very different kind of person, a historian, a bit of an inventor, and he just saw the history in it. And because it was such a solidly built building, felt like he would be able to bring it and move it 30 miles inland on the island, on a different shore than it already was, than it existed at, and then rebuilt the house piece by piece. When we go upstairs in the bathroom, you'd be able to see the numbering system on the floor, because he numbered each individual board, he numbered each individual piece of trim, so it could all go back exactly where he found it. He
was precise, in other words, to the history and the legacy of this tavern. But how did this tavern come about in the first place?
I think way back when, Prince Edward County has a very, obviously it's a farming community, or was a farming community, and was at one point Canada's capital for fruit growing, if you can believe it or not, on this island. And I think at this end of the county, in Consicon, where the inn was originally built, there was a need for, I guess a bit of a hotel and a tavern, and a young fellow by the name of Martin Miller, who was 23 years old, started building it in 1837, and he completed it in 1838.
How did the tavern come to its eventual end, to the point where Roy eventually found it? It certainly had its heyday, like you said, because it was there were a lot of people here during that the fruit growing time, but clearly from these pictures it met a rather tragic end, didn't it?
Yeah, well, the tragic end was basically when municipalities across the province of Ontario and probably the country of Canada were given the option to either have liquor served in their community or not have liquor served in their community. So in about 1920, Prince Edward County was declared a dry community, and then of course you have a tavern that its income is based on
booze.
on booze and serving liquor, and then of course that all went away. So without that ability, then it just became derelict. And then of course times change. It was 1966 when Roy took it down. And
why do you think Roy wanted to take this project on?
I'm not sure why this specific project appealed to him. He's not here, so I can't ask him. I just think that for him, it was a building, because Roy's been a historian and spent his life in Prince Edward County, just felt like, it was a shame to take a building that had such a storied history and such a storied past, and that was built so solidly, to decide just to watch someone, rip it apart and take it down, which is what we consistently see in small town Ontario. You see the old history being demolished to build, the new inns and the new hotels and the new taverns, and in Prince Edward County, the new wineries and things like that. And I think it was just his ability to take a piece of history and save it.
save it in a way that is entirely respectful of the original tavern, that to the point where, as you said, he numbered things. Can you show me some of those moments? Or some of those
they're upstairs. Yeah.
Sure, let's go.
Yeah, okay. This is the original manuscript. Okay, so we left the floors in here. They were going to paint them. The family was going to paint them to make the house look more finished. And we agreed that that rather than paint them, it made more sense to expose the numbering system so people could see that every single board had a number. So you see this is 35-2 and 35-3, and then you got 36, and 41, 42, 43-2 and -1 and 44-1.
Huh.
Yeah.
What are some other features in this house that are unique to the tavern itself?
Notice the doors. All of the doors throughout the entire house are about 3 inches thick.
Huge!
Yeah, they're massive. And if we go downstairs, you'll see his locking mechanisms. He has locking mechanisms that are massive with the big old skeleton keys that go in and out of each door. And then, of course, as you walk through the house, you see the furniture. Not only have they restored the house to appeal to to its era, but the furniture they put in it is also and this is the furniture that they lived with for all the years that they lived here. Just they kept collecting pieces from Prince Edward County that you may have seen in the inn 160 years ago. I mean, that's an old, they call them a rope bed, where you actually put something on top of ropes, and so they've got all kinds of neat things inside the house as well.
It's remarkable, and it certainly speaks to a labor of love, I guess, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think this says about Roy himself, that he would devote so much of his time and his life to this building?
Yeah, well, I just think it's probably one of the most inspirational stories that I've been involved with. We've dealt with a number of different families who've owned a number of different properties. Some, have been in the family for 160 years. And but none have had a story behind it that's just this really gets you this emotionally invested, I guess. I mean, it's the kind of process where it's difficult to serve the family, not get emotionally invested in what's actually happened here, the significance of this house. And so, yeah, I just think it's a very, very inspirational story.
What do you think this house means to Roy's family, his wife and his kids, that he's left behind?
I think for sure it is something that has turned out to be his legacy. I'm not certain that when Roy started this process in 1966, it was his goal to leave a legacy or to build a landmark. I just think he had a passion for history, and he was the kind of person that thought, hey, what a neat, fun project. And every year, everybody got a little bit more passionate about it, and so I think it turned into that for him.
I want to end this on one of your favorite places in this house, or favorite items, the thing that stands out in your mind the most. What can you describe of this place, or take me to, that sort of speaks to the character of this place and to Roy himself?
Yeah, okay. For me, I love to cook, so my focus of every house is the kitchen.
All right.
And this has the kind of kitchen that every sort of old farmhouse should have, where you've got the couch in the kitchen and you've got the table in the kitchen, so you can be in the kitchen cooking, and after cooking for an hour, if you want to lay down on the old country farm couch, you can lay down for half an hour on the country farm couch. The kids can be sitting at the kitchen table and sort of doing their homework. So I classify this as the kitchen. It's one great big eating sort of family area of the kitchen, and then this would have been where the woman spent her time, or in the days that it was built as a tavern, maybe the staff spent their time sort of cooking, and everything is wood and it's old, and it's it just suits the house. So for me, this is my favorite personal space, just because it's just a terrific space to relax and cook and share.
Well, Manson, it's too bad that this house has to pass on to other hands, but it is a beautiful house, and it's going to make somebody very, very happy, I think. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming.
Manson Slick is the head of Gordon Estate Services. Now, he's going to be hosting an open house of the Old Hayes Tavern / Stevens House today and tomorrow between 10 and 11 a.m. It's a bit of a drive, though, I know, if you're heading down from Ottawa, but you can call ahead to make a separate appointment if you'd like. The toll-free number is 1-800-267-2206. Once again, that's 1-800-267-2206. The official auction of the house and all of its contents is scheduled for next weekend. Now, for pictures of Roy's house and for more information about the auction as well as phone numbers and everything, you can link to all of the details through our website, which is cbc.ca/intownandout.